Namaskar, everyone. I've been joining with you after quite a long time. There have been some reflections on a few things that I've done, which I never thought I'll do. So now that I've done them, I feel like there are a few things that I could share with you. So recently, my husband and I went to this Mahakumbh festival that's being organized in India. And you may have heard on popular media channels that it's one of the largest spiritual and cultural gathering in the world. And up to 400 or even more, 400 or more millions of people are expected to gather in the a little more than 1 month gathering. So it started in January and it will end on 26th of February. And so, just a little bit about why this takes place. So, it's called Kumbh and it takes place every 12 years. And the 12 years is actually to connote the one circle of Jupiter around the sun. So, Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the sun. And why Jupiter? So, these are some of the ways in which we can explain Kumbh to people who are not. From this culture or who have not studied about Kumbh. And why Jupiter is because Jupiter is the vacuum cleaner of the space. So it just sucks in all the debris, the asteroid, meteorites, and any other elements that could hit our Earth, and it just sucks in because of its gravitational force, and hence in reverence and in gratitude for Jupiter, this Kumbh Mela is organized. There are other mythological reasons as well. There was this ocean churning between Devas and Asuras, and in that churning there was Amrit, or the eternal nectar, that came out, and 4 drops of that nectar actually fell on earth. And Prayagraj, where this time Kumbh was organized, was one of the places, and actually the first place where the nectar dropped, a drop of nectar fell. The other 4 places are Ujjain, Nasik, and Haridwar in India. So, growing up, I had always heard about Kumbh Mela, and my parents have been there. People who I knew have been there, and they would always express their desire to go to Kumbh every 12 years. And then all these 4 places take turns in hosting them. So you could go effectively every 4 years and you could join in one of the Kumbhs. And I had been hearing about them. Kumbhs came and went, and never once I really thought or I had the desire to go. I was quite happy to just listen to other people's story, and that was it. I was quite satisfied with that. But this year's Kumbh is especially important because it's occurring after 144 years. So in my mind, I'm thinking 12 rounds of Jupiter around the sun. So 12 times 12, 144. And you must also have seen the amazing alignment of 7 planets in the sky, in the night sky during this month. And so something to do with that as well. So it's probably an amazing astronomical alignment, and the constellations as they appear. And in Indian lunar calendar, it's called the Magh Mas, which has just ended on 13th of February. So the entire Magh Mas, or it's called Kalpavas also. So the sadhus, the ascetics, the people who have been doing sadhanas and yoga and really high up in their spiritual awakening, it's mainly for them. So they observe this Magh Mas and come to the Kumbh. So something happened this time when I had been looking at what was happening at Kumbh right in the very beginning, and one of my friends actually told me that she's going to the Kumbh, and something occurred to me. And something inside told me that I should also go. I wasn't thinking how I would go, the logistics or anything about it. I just wanted to go. And the reason, I'll tell you quite frankly, was not religious or any particular idea or any particular desire, simply that I would love to experience this phenomena that's happening in India. So I asked my husband. Initially we thought that it's not going to be possible, and then somehow the stars aligned for us to go, and we visited. So both my husband and I, we went to Kumbh, and just to kind of share this experience with you, what I expected and what I found. To start with, there wasn't any kind of expectation in my mind, like there wasn't any particular thing that I was going there to achieve. I just wanted to be there. So we landed in Prayagraj airport from Delhi, and we took a taxi, and it all seemed quite okay up until that point. We asked the taxi to drop us off near our hotel or our accommodation. And he said that since the all the main gates are closed for cars or bigger vehicles, we can drop you off at a particular point. From there, you can walk 5-6 kilometers and reach your destination. And we were quite okay to walk that distance, no problem. We only had small backpacks for us. So we got dropped off and we tried to walk off this bridge that we were supposed to take, but it was near impossible to walk on the bridge because it was chock-a-block with all the vehicles that were trying to get there. So that particular day was Ekadashi, and a lot of people had gathered to take a bath. Ekadashi is also one of the very auspicious days in Hindu calendar. So then we were just somehow trying to walk on the bridge, and we were struggling. And there we saw two young students coming on their like smaller motorbikes, like moped, if you like. In India, we call them scooty. And they asked us where we wanted to go, and we told them, and they just said, "Oh, just hop on, and we can drop you. At least we can help you cross the bridge." And while we were talking to them, and they were riding us in that mayhem, in that somehow that chaos, they were finding ways to take us out. And it seemed like they were committed to now drop us off at our accommodation. And a few hours later, they did drop us off. And we were amazed by the humanity. And they were actually coming out of their college to go home, and they were 4 hours late going home because of that mind-boggling traffic jam. And never once they showed any kind of impatience or regret or any irritation with what was going on. They were just happy to drop us off, two perfect strangers who they had never met before. And we had some wonderful conversations about their studies. They were law students, and how they see their city now that Kumbh is happening. And they didn't seem to complain about anything. They knew why people were gathering, and they were actually helping people get to their destination. So that was what was going on their mind. So it really amazed me. And the other thing that amazed me was how everyone was willing to help you. So if you're asking for direction, if you were getting stuck, and even the vehicles, with each other, they were showing extreme patience because they all knew that we are all in it together. So that was one of the first things that I noticed there, even in the chaos and mayhem and people not having been eaten for a while and rested for a while. They were all kind of patiently waiting their turn and helping each other out. So that was our day one, and we went there, and in the evening we took a walk around the Mela and the event, and we saw an extreme spectrum of humanity gathered there. People who had literally nothing, they just came to the Kumbh to take a dip in the water. People who had a lot, so they were using helicopters, so they were living in expensive accommodations. They had VIP passes to go to their destination. So it was the entire spectrum on display, and we were just absorbing everything, just absorbing this great gathering of humanity and what it was doing to me. And I was watching myself. I am mildly claustrophobic. So, for example, I don't like crowded elevators. I don't like to go in crowded supermarkets. I try to live in a place that's kind of secluded. So this is the kind of person I was. And here I found myself in the middle of millions of people. That particular day, it's said that there were about 20 million people in that city where I was. And among that huge crowd of people, somehow I found myself that I was at peace and calm, and I was just happy to be there among everybody. And we saw some families just having no accommodation. They came from the train station. They just went straight to the river. They took a dip and just left the same day with their family and baggages. There were people who were just staying near the river somewhere. There were people who were like us, had some accommodation, and so we met some people at our accommodation as well. And the other thing what I noticed is, like, I've always thought about this concept of our faith and belief and God and how we see God. And so it's also a function of the stage of our consciousness, right? Like, so growing up at the earlier stages, we fear God. So we do things because we are afraid of the consequences. So there are a lot of people who are going to the Kumbh because they are afraid that if they don't go, maybe something bad will happen, or if they go, something great will happen to them. So they are just going to the Kumbh and taking a dip in the river. There are people who want to be seen to be there. So there are people who do rituals and worship God quite performatively. So there's a big element of performance when they do puja. They want people to see that they are doing puja or they are worshiping God. And so these are so at that stage we are very concerned about how people see us. So if they see us as religious, it's something good. And then after that, so when we cross that stage, we get to the point where we do worship in our own way, and we do worship because we want to, because we have some faith and belief in the power of prayer and worship and what have you, regardless of how people see us. So and then beyond that, we just start to see everything as one. So if you worship, it's okay. If you don't worship, it's okay. And if you're questioning, that's also okay. So it's part of the entire spectrum. I find myself currently at a stage of life where I do believe in one source, one powerful source that has hold an order on this entire universe, which is so vast that is beyond my imagination and understanding, because my mind can't even fathom how big and how amazing and wonderful this universe is. And some force, one energy or force, is actually at the top of it. So I look at that as something that I revere, and that in my heart, I have this bigger place for it in my mind, and that's what I bow down to. That's what I surrender to. So that's where I am. And I also see everything and everyone as a manifestation of that one single force. So I am a part of this entire humanity, this entire universe, just like everyone else. And how do I know that I hold this belief is when I was in Kumbh, I saw myself exactly as one of them, one of the 20 million people that were gathered, and one of the 400 million people who are going to gather. I was there as part of that, even though my belief and my reason for being there was different than maybe a lot of people, but that didn't mean anything. That didn't create any kind of difference. I was there to experience. I wanted to go to the confluence of the three rivers, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. I wanted to take a dip. My reasoning was completely different than many people. And yet I wasn't different than anyone. I was a part of everybody. And when my husband and I, we were fortunate enough to take a boat and go to right in the middle of Sangam. It's called Sangam, the confluence of three rivers. And we took a holy dip, and it's called holy dip because in my mind, I think where the two rivers are mixing together, all that mineral and the quality of water that they bring with them, if you take a dip, it's going to be quite therapeutic and quite healing. And of course, if you add the fact that the eternal nectar dropped there, and then all that amazing astronomical order that happens that day, and the fact that Jupiter is our protector, and that the fact that we are respecting. So if you combine all of those factors, I think no matter which angle you take, it's just going to be wonderful and special and exciting. So we did that, and while I was taking a dip in the river, I knew why so many people converge there, regardless of their reason. A lot of people actually believe that they're going to wash off their sin by dipping in there. A lot of people believe that that they have done something amazing in their past birth, and that's why they can be there. They feel very grateful. So regardless, I think everyone who was there was very happy to be there. So that was one common thing. They tried, they worked hard, and they got over and overcame a lot of difficulties to be there. So that was a common thing between all of us. And there we were. The guy, the very young man, two young men, they were friends. They were our boat riders, and they told us amazing stories. And I asked them if they have brought their families there, and and we just became friends. So we made a lot of friends in Prayagraj. And next day, when we had to come back to the airport, there was no question of taking a taxi, a car, because it just wasn't going to be possible. So one perfect stranger again, we met him. He had a motorbike. He said he'll bring two people in the morning and take us to the airport. And he gave us his word. And we just had to believe him for his words. Next morning he arrived. He took us to the airport. It took us several hours again because it was crazy, and but regardless, he took us to the airport, and we completed our journey. And throughout this, a lot of things happened. But in summary, what I wanted to share with you is, like, for a person like me who is not ritualistic in particular, I don't do performative rituals. I don't do puja or worship to be seen in a particular way, or to be seen as a very dharmic or as a very religious person. But I had some special reason to be there. I wanted to experience, and I think I came back as a fuller, more wholesome person after being part of this great human gathering, this great experience where everyone became one, and then was there at the same place and found joy in our own way for our own reason. I thought it was very special because of that. So I just wanted to share this with you. Let me know if you have been to Kumbh, or if you're planning to go to Kumbh, or even thoughts against or for what I'm saying. I would love to hear them. And for me, it was a special moment. And I'm very grateful that I could join. However, I would also say that at this point, my realization has gone even further. If you have been there, wonderful. If you couldn't go there for any reason, if you don't want to go there for any reason, that's also very valid. And that's also, I embrace that view as well. So I think that's what happened in Kumbh. I think my perspective has gotten broader. I have overcome my belief in one way or the other. And I think I have gained the capacity to embrace a bigger view and bigger set of beliefs about any of these things. So thank you very much for listening, and I would wait for your response. Thank you.